Hello vinyl community, it's the 13th of March. You join me here at home and got a few acquisitions to show you. Hi everyone, it's James here. Welcome to Vinyl Finds Volume 100, Episode 100, Part 100. We've got to 100 instalments, so yes, wouldn't like to say how many records I've shown across the 100 instalments. Best not thought about, really. So today I'm going to try and catch you up once again with what I've been buying over the last few weeks, months. It's been a good year. 2024 has been a good year. I found some really good things. After I've shown this pile of records, there's still some more to show, but that will be another story. So we're going to start off with a bit of Ringo Starr. The first actually is a gift. This came from John Heaton, whose birthday party I went to in Wimbledon a few months back, and John was kind enough to gift me a copy of Ringo Starr's greatest hits album, Blast From Your Past, which was a very nice surprise. Not a record I've ever seen in the wild before. There's the inner lyric sheet, and this one is on Red Apple, which is quite nice. And this collects together a fair few of his early hits. You've got You're 16 on here, No No Song, Don't Come Easy, Photograph, Only You, a couple of singles and B-sides. You've got early 1970, Back Off Boogaloo, I'm the Greatest from the Ringo album. Really nice lineup of tracks, great to have. As I said, I've never seen a copy of it before. And then a while after, I think a couple of months later, I was really pleased to find this. An album I've been looking for ages. I was on holiday in Llandudno with my mum and my partner and our two sons, and we went into town and went to it wasn't a record fair, it was like a sort of an antiques thing in a church, but there was a record stall there, and the guy had a really nice copy of Ringo Starr's Goodnight Vienna album, which I think was his, I don't know, maybe his fifth album. It was the sequel to the Ringo album, and I've had this on CD for a long time, but I've been looking for a vinyl copy of it. Really nice to get hold of. It is an original copy, got no barcode on the back. This one, it has a custom label. It's not on the Apple label, so just really chuffed to get it. I have been on a mission to collect all Ringo's sort of what you might describe as his classic albums, everything up to and including Old Wave, which was 1983 or 4, and I'm nearly there. There's one that I don't have, but we'll come to that finally one day when I have it. Okay, so the next two records are from North Wales, and they are from Acorn Antiques, which is a place I go to from time to time. It's a place just outside Wrexham, which is my hometown, and it's very much the look of the draw. You know, sometimes you go there and there's nothing, sometimes you go there and there's something. But I called in on the way back from Wrexham. I'd been to Moonlight Records, and I might have something to show you from Moonlight. I might do. And I called in and I found this record, and I could see immediately that there was some kind of bargain to be had. This is the album Stonehenge by 10 Years After, and they had this priced up at £4, and it said on the sleeve that it had around it, it said something like poor quality or low quality or something like that, bad condition or something. And I thought, okay, well, let's have a look at it. And I pulled it out, and I thought to myself, that record is fine. Just a few scuffs here and there. It's on R.E.M, and it's actually a mono copy. So a mono British original copy of 10 Years After Stonehenge, which is maybe their second album. You've got the red mono blue stereo thing on the back there. So just a classic example of where, these antiques dealers, they don't really know what they're dealing with. They'll put an album out for sale, like a Cliff Richard's greatest hit, all beaten up, and they'll say, £10. And then an album like this that you would never expect to find in the wild, poor condition, i.e. just needs a bit of a clean, and that was £4. So really chuffed to get that. This is an album that I had on CD already. It's I describe it as a sort of experimental blues album with some elements of kind of early art rock, not progressive rock, I wouldn't say, progressive early blues, a bit psychedelic in places, the great guitar playing, of course, of the great Alvin Lee. So a little bit bonkers, a little bit off its head in the nicest possible way, but for £4 it was coming home with me, most certainly. And this album, this might have been actually, I think this is the one that I got from Moonlight. So I went to Moonlight first and then I went to Acorn. So I've shown these two records the wrong way around. He didn't have a lot there this time that I wanted in Moonlight. In fact, I thought his stock looked a bit depleted, which is a bit worrying. I hope he's not going to go out of business like Alan Hughes did in Wrexham. But I plucked this one off the shelf. This is a reissue, actually, of the first album by Spirit. It's not the more familiar cover that you'll know if you know that album. And this is a band whose records I'm sort of vaguely collecting. I've got one of their records, the Dr. Sardonicus one, which was sent to me as a gift years ago by Stephen Alexander. That's Psych in the Valleys, and I really enjoyed it. They're a kind of, you know, American 60s, I don't know how you describe them really, sort of psych, garagey, kind of pop, a strange amalgamation of stuff really. Again, a bit like the Stonehenge one, it's kind of trippy 60s head music, but great to get. This wasn't expensive. I can't remember how much I paid for it, but it wasn't much. It's in good condition. It's on a really nice sort of reddish CBS label. So that was a really nice little outing in Wrexham. So the first album by Spirit, and maybe the second album by 10 Years After, or the third, not quite sure. So that was really good. Fandabidozy. Right, now I'm sort of dotting all over in time with this, because this, I'm sure these next couple come from a previous time when I went to Moonlight Records. I picked up a copy of this, which is a record that, ironically, I've been buying it for various people who don't have it. Every time I see a copy of it, I buy it in order to give to somebody who's never heard it. And I didn't have a copy myself. I had it on CD, but I didn't have it myself. So I finally managed to get a copy of it for me. And this is Deacon Blue and Raintown, which is an absolutely classic album. Glaswegian sort of blue-eyed soul band or pop band from the 1980s. This is their first album. Great to get this on vinyl finally. Did I need it on vinyl? You know, having it on CD? Probably not, but you know, nice custom label. And is there an inner? Yeah, I've got an inner sheet there with some good nighttime Glasgow-y scenes. So yeah, chuffed to get this finally into the collection. Some great stuff on this album. Almost a sort of concept album really, you know, about a kind of, I don't know, like a Glaswegian sort of day in the life maybe. Ragman, Chocolate Girl on side 2, an absolute classic. So yeah, great to get finally into the collection. So that might be it for Moonlight Records. So I'm going to whiz through the next two because they're just very, very sort of cheap and cheerful finds from Heightside Records in Lancaster, here in Lancaster, my usual market traders. Been still trying to collect all the Bob Dylans, so they had a copy of Saved going cheap in the racks. Wasn't much, probably a £5. So the second of Bob's Christian trilogy, which I actually quite enjoy. Yes, it's a bit heavy-handed in its evangelicalism, but there's some really nice tracks on it. I love Covenant Woman on side 1, I think is a beautiful song. In the Garden and Saving Grace on side 2, I think are both great. So nice to get that. Again, you know, I had it on CD. And this one I sort of ummed and ahed for about 2 minutes because it's sort of taped up, but it is one of the ones I was looking for. Copy of Infidels, again, had it on CD, and this contains one of my favourite Dylan tracks of all time. In fact, a couple of different ones actually, but I'll save those for another day because myself and Richard McCook are meant to be doing a Bob Dylan in the 80s video, and hopefully we'll get to that before Christmas. But this was nice to get. This was really cheap actually. Might have been something like £4. You can see it's, you know, it's taped up, which is obviously not ideal, but given it's one of the ones that I was looking for. Got quite a nice inner there showing all the various albums, and a picture of Bob crouched in the dust, which I think is meant to be a bit of a Jesus reference, that, isn't it? I think, isn't there a scene from the Bible where Jesus is seen crouched in the dust drawing things in the sand? Something like that anyway. So not one of the Christian albums. This came out after the Christian trilogy, didn't it? Yeah, it did. Yeah, I think it did. My mind's gone. But yeah, Infidels, perfect. And then, well, not perfect, taped up, but perfect to get it. Another Heightside one, an artist whose records I'm collecting, and they've had a couple in. What happened was a shop that they buy stuff from had gone into liquidation, I think somewhere in West Yorkshire, and they inherited, I think, the full stock of records from the shop. And they've had a couple of records by this guy, and I've bought both of them. I think it was 2, might even have been 3. This is Bruce Cockburn and Further Adventures of. Apparently it's not, you're not meant to say the Further Adventures of Bruce Cockburn. The album is just called Further Adventures of, and it's by Bruce Cockburn. I felt obliged to say that because apparently that's true. Nice gatefold. Picture of Bruce on the back, looking very scholarly. This one comes from 1978, so I'm dotting around a bit in my collection. I think I've got 3 or 4 albums now, a couple from the 80s, this is 1978, and I just really like Bruce Cockburn's songwriting. It's very low-key, it's very spiritual, a little bit political, maybe going on religious at times, actually. He writes almost like a kind of diaryist, really. Everything's sort of small scale, observational, and he sets it to just wonderful guitar playing. He's a brilliant guitarist. He's from Canada, a Canadian singer-songwriter, and he's still with us. He's in his 80s now, and the last album he did a couple of years ago I thought was really good, although I've not bought it. I should do, really, because it was an excellent record. But yeah, great to get Bruce Cockburn, and I will continue attempting to find his records, of which I suspect there are a great many. And then we're going to finish with a run of great finds from Oxfam in Lancaster. Now, Oxfam have done me proud over the years, and anybody who's watched the last 100 instalments of this series you know, may remember some of the great finds that I've had from there. It's still going on. I mean, they still get great stuff in. Probably a bit pricier now than it used to be, but hey ho. This first one is probably the least impressive of the ones to show, but it's still a record I've been looking for. Not exactly looking for. Right, this is a record that I've seen a lot over the years, and I always sort of and ah about it and put it back. This is Flock of Seagulls. I think it's their first album from 1982. And they were a kind of, I guess you describe them as a sort of new wave band. The reason that that their name lodges in my head is that they actually supported Squeeze on the 1982 tour that Squeeze did, their farewell tour, I think it was, the Sweets from a Stranger tour, or it was called the Last Orders tour, I think. Flock of Seagulls supported them, and so the name has always kind of stuck in my mind. I've seen various people show this through the years. I know Chris at the Vinyl Orchard, when he did his video on favourite synthy tracks, I think he chose a track from this record. Anyway, I saw it going at Oxfam, dead cheap, lovely condition, so I thought I'd pick it up, and I'm pleased I did. It's a really, really enjoyable album. I'll just quickly show you the label. It's on the Jive label. The first time I heard it, or maybe the first and second time I heard it, I thought it was a little bit samey, and I would probably still go along with that. It's just got that 80s sound, you know, the synths and the, I don't know, the singer's voice. It seems a bit samey to me, but I think the songs do come through gradually, and I do think it's quite an enjoyable album. No idea how many other records they made. There's a sort of thank you here to Bill Nelson. We put our hands together for Bill Nelson. So I'm not entirely sure. It was produced by Bill Nelson. That's why, right? The album was produced by Bill Nelson. So yeah, nice to get. So yeah, Flock of Seagulls. Must do some prep for these videos. And we're going to finish with some big beasts, all of them from Oxfam, and I was just really, really pleased to find all of these. Fairly certain this was Oxfam. I think it was. This might have been Heightside, you know. Might have been. I really should make Vinyl Finds videos sooner after buying the records. Life's Rich Pageant by R.E.M. One of the ones I was missing. Still missing a couple from that initial run of IRS records. I think I'm still missing the first 2, in fact. Murmur and Reckoning. This is one of the ones, you know, one of the other ones that was outstanding. And I had it on CD. I've got all the first fine records on CD. Sorry, I just had to break there because my phone, which I'm using as a camera, started ringing. So I had to answer the call. So the camera might now be at a different angle. Not entirely sure. What was I saying about R.E.M? R.E.M, Life's Rich Pageant. Great record. Pleased to get it into the collection. These Finds videos, you end up saying the same thing over and over again, don't you? We've got the the inner. And the record, I'm going to guess, is going to be on the Standards Brown IRS label. So I won't say too much about this because everybody knows R.E.M, but this is one of the later ones of that period. I think it was maybe the sort of second to last one before they transferred to the bigger label. Can't quite remember. Anyway, it's a great album. Begin the Begin, fantastic album opener. Some of the tracks on it slightly remind me of the Fables of the Reconstruction songs. They've got that same kind of slightly ethereal, plugged into nature kind of vibe. Anyway, just, you know, great to get. And like I said, the first two are still eluding me, but R.E.M are not the easiest of bands to find the originals of, really. By the same token, they're not the most difficult either. I do sort of find that they're not, you know, they're not like hen's teeth, are they, R.E.M? And then two Neil Young albums, both from Oxfam. So, in fact, the previous video this year where I showed a Neil Young album from Oxfam, I forget which one it was, but oh no. So what it was, I saw this, I bought this album and then I saw another one. I bought that one as well and sent it as VCLT to somebody. So two copies of this turning up in Oxfam in the space of a couple of weeks. That's a bit of a turn up, isn't it? But Neil Young and Crazy Horse, Rust Never Sleeps, which was from, wouldn't like to say actually, but it's sort of early 1980s. Is there a date anywhere? 1979. And this has got some absolutely blazing tracks on it. Pocahontas, My, Hey, Hey, Out of the Blue, Powderfinger, which is possibly one of his, you know, greatest songs ever. So, yeah, dead chuffed to get that from Oxfam. I think it was a tenner. So, yeah, there was that. And then this one I've been looking for years. There was a copy of this actually going in Moonlight Records in Wrexham, but I wasn't that happy with the condition, so I left it behind. So pleased to find this one in Oxfam, which was in better condition and probably cheaper actually. So this is Freedom. Now this one does come from something like 1980, doesn't it? Neil Young did not like putting the dates on at the back of his albums. Different label this time. We've got 1989, later than I thought. Actually, yeah, 1989, that does make sense, actually, in my sort of Neil Young personal chronology. This is an album that I think my friend Steve had when we were at uni together in 91, and I think I knew it was a bit of a recent one. Great album, really long, sprawling album, given that it's just a single disc, but there's some great stuff on here. You've got the two different versions of Rockin' in the Free World. You've got the acoustic one at the start of the album, and then the noisy, rocky one at the end. And the stuff in between is none too shabby. You've got El Dorado on here, so Wrecking Ball, Don't Cry, you know, really nice. Sort of mixture of ballads and rockers, really, but just so pleased to get these. My Neil Young collection is probably finished now. You know, I've done Neil Young collection videos in the past and I've explained about the gaps, and there are still some gaps, but I reckon I've probably got all the ones I need. Maybe apart from the debut, which I've only got on CD. But you know, so many albums, and you know, at the end of the day, I don't want them all. I don't want all the Neil Young albums. I don't know how many there were. Just a ridiculous number. So at some point I'll do an updated collection video and I'll show all the ones that I've got anyway. So so yeah, we go. Neil Young, Freedom, and Rust Never Sleeps. Good stuff. Two more. This one, again, from Oxfam, and again, one I've been looking for, actually, for a long time, Kraftwerk, and this is Computer World, of course. I have the single of this, one of the records that my older son used to love when he was little. I bought him his own Danzig record player, and one of the singles he used to play over and over again was Computer World. We used to love listening to it together when he was small, but the album had sort of eluded me. So just great to get this. And my Kraftwerk collection is sort of not too bad. You know, I've got Autobahn, I'd have to go and check to find out which ones I've got, but we'll do a collection video at some point on Kraftwerk. Seminal, obviously. And we'll finish with this one is definitely the the best of the bunch, I would say. This, I suspect, I think this was in the window of Oxfam, and it was one of these things when you're walking past and you sort of screech to a stop and, you know, the dust flies up, because this is a record I've been looking for so many years. A band that I was never into when I was growing up, just for various reasons. I won't go into that now, I'll explain another day, but the Jam have been sort of piecing their work together out of actually mainly reissues. I've got an original version of sound effects, and I think everything else I've got is a reissue. Still don't have, I think it's The Gift I don't have. Now I've got the debut album, and you know, it doesn't really get more seminal than this, really, I suppose, apart from, you know, maybe Nevermind the Bollocks, just in terms of that period, that sort of punk, early new wave period, the Jam's debut album, you know, along with Parallel Lines by Blondie. There's a sort of clutch of those records that I consider to be just absolutely essential must-haves if you're a collector of British rock pop of that era. And this is one that I never really expected to find an original copy of it, and to find it in Oxfam, in the window. Price-wise, it was not too expensive either. It wasn't kind of like £30 or anything stupid like that. You know, it was definitely reasonable, and I was just absolutely over the moon to find it on Red Polydor. So yeah, I don't need to say too much about it, do I? It's the Jam's debut album. Once I finally pieced the collection together and I've got all the set, I will do a Jam sort of retrospective video and go through some of the favourite tracks, because they are a band that I've sort of, you know, come to later in life rather than being into them at the time. But anyway, great to get. So there we have the Jam in the City from, would have been 1977, yeah. What a year. With the Batman theme at the end of side one. Superb. Right, I stumbled through that. I hope you enjoyed it. It was a bit chaotic, sorry. I've still got some records to show. I'm determined this year to show everything that I've bought before Christmas, or at least before New Year, because last year I ended up with loads of records that I had to kind of knock back to January, and I don't like that. I want to try and seal the deal for this year, but there's a few more things still to come, and no doubt I'll go digging again before the end of the year. Anyway, ramble over. Thanks for watching. I do appreciate it, and hope everybody's doing well. See you soon. Take care, vinyl community. Have a great day. What's left of it, have a great weekend, and I'll see you soon. Okay, take care. Bye.